Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast, and good evening those of you coming from Israel, Greece, and beyond. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ethan Marcus. I am the managing director of the Sephardic Jewish Brotherhood of America, the national umbrella organization of the Ladino-speaking community in the United States. We're so excited for you to be here for a new course, the Sepharadim of Romania. It's a three-part series through our Sephardic Digital Academy. So we can all watch together for all our different classes. If you've never seen us before, you can check out our website at sephardicbrotherhood.com/Sephardic Digital Academy for many more courses on Sephardic history, culture, Ladino language, cooking, Torah, and more. So please check us out on our website when you have a chance. Today, we have a wonderful speaker through our three-part series, Penina Zilberman. So we're very, very excited to have her here today. She was born in Israel to survivor parents from Romania. She served previously as the Toronto Jewish community for over 40 years as a principal at Jewish schools, as the Toronto's Holocaust Museum director, and Adaf Israel Synagogue Sisterhood president. She was the heritage advisor. She's been a heritage advisor, a PR consultant for the UK artists James Stewart exhibit Romanian Heritage, Our Journey in Time from 2017 to 2020. In 2014, Penina initiated the 70th anniversary commemoration to the Sighet deportations. These are Jews from the specific town in Romania, followed by all generations gathering in 2015, 2017, and 2019, attracting over 1,000 participants from all over the world. She herself is a product of Romanian Jewry. She has been to Romania many, many times, has lived there before, and is an expert on the history of Romanian Jewry. So this is a new content class she's made specifically for us, and we're very excited to welcome her and her organization, the Tarbut Foundation. So Penina, just need you to unmute, and whenever you're ready, begin.
Hello. Let me just do the share. Fine. 1 minute. Soon everything will happen. Slideshow. Great. All right. Shalom to everybody. And as you heard already, for me, it's good evening, and it's quite symbolic that I am speaking to you actually from Greece, from the city of Kalamata, famous for its olive oil and olives. It happens that I'm here since you will hear soon, I'm also involved in Jewish heritage roots in Europe, and there is here a seminar that especially is geared of trying to involve, and how should we involve and get more of the youth, local youth, to participate in these roots across Europe. So that's why I'm here. Next week when we meet, I'm going to be in Israel. So, okay. So, first of all, I would like to take the opportunity and thank the Sephardic Jewish Brotherhood of America and Ethan Marcus for inviting me to deliver a series of 3 presentations about the Romanian Sephardic Jewish community. Our schedule is going to be as follows. Tonight, we are going to speak about the history of the Romanian Sephardim. Next week, we are going to speak about Jewish life in Bucharest through posters. And the conclusion is going to be a present memory of the Sephardim community. I'm going to pose a few rhetorical questions. So the first one is going to be, was there a Jewish community? Yes, a very, very strong one. And we can all be proud and honored. But sadly, there's very little left or close to no trace to that vibrant community that I'll try and bring it towards you to understand the magnitude of that community and that role in the country. Now, how did all this legacy start? Why did it disappear? But before I start, I would like to say a few words about Tarbut Foundation, which is the foundation that I have established in 2014 in Romania. So the name of it is Tarbut Foundation, SIGET, Cultură și Educație in Iudaica, which means, see, Romanian is a Latin-based language, therefore, cultură, culture, educație, education, Iudaica, it's easy. So here are our two missions. Number one is providing all generations with genealogical research and organizing family roots journeys. The other one is educating the history and art teachers together with their high school students about the Romanian Holocaust. We started very actively during the Corona with Zoom presentations, and actually we are very successful. Just this past January, during the week of the 27th of January, which symbolizes the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we actually touched close to 1,000 students across Romania. So this is a very important work. Romania just took responsibility in 2002 that there was a Holocaust in Romania. Therefore, it's extremely important to deliver the message. Okay. My knowledge about the Sephardic Jewish community in Romania is through my late grandmother, who always made sure to tell me that she has Spanish, Romanian roots. Now, in Romanian, we say Spaniol. Spaniol means Spanish. So she always made sure that I'm aware of it. And indeed, her grandmother, Rebecca Katz, Katz by marriage, sorry, I don't know what was her birth name, is buried in the Cimitirul Spaniol, Cimitir, Cemetery, Spaniol, Spanish, in Bucharest. Bucharest has two cemeteries, one general and one specific for the Sephardic community. So this is already number one landmark that we can see that this community was able to buy a piece of land where they would bury their people. And it's there today, okay? And it's taken very good care of it. Elise Esther Israilovich Zilberman, that was my grandmother, taught me the Romanian language, which I cherish and thank her daily. About 4 months ago, the Sephardic Genealogy Society asked me to deliver for them a presentation. That's when they rose my curiosity and led me to do a research, and here I am ready to start. So I want to start with a brief history of Romania. This map is of Romania in the 17th century. The name of the country was given by the Romans, who arrived in Romania in the 2nd century. They brought along some Jews who were slaves, who came via the destruction of the Second Temple. So marks of Jews are already from as early as the 2nd century. The language is Romanian, which is a Latin-based language, and that is so easy for us to speak or to understand Spanish and Italian. While the unfortunate Jewish-Spanish expulsion took place in 1492, following the historical known golden era of the Jews in Spain, Romania at the time was ruled by small principalities in three major regions as shown on this map. So we have Wallachia in the south, we have all Transylvania here, and Moldavia. And each community or each big city had their own prince that owned the land, and there was a wall around. And today, if you go to Alba Iulia, or you come to Sibiu, or you go to Oradea, the archaeological walls, parts of it are still there, okay? So I chose to start with Romania in the 15th century, which coincides with the Spanish expulsion in 1492. At the time, as I mentioned, it was a principality state, meaning a prince will rule a certain geographical area, and the people would be under his laws, almost with no rights. But to serve in his army in order to protect his places, his geographical area, especially when they would be attacked. The prince will own the land and the people will serve him. Now, the principalities, now who's coming to attack them? The principalities would be attacked by tribes crossing from Asia, okay? Or any other nomads. Proof to this life are the archaeological remains of walls around almost every major city in the region, which today is our capital of region. Alba Iulia, by the way, is a very special city. That's where Romania received its independence in 1918. I'll get back there. So the regions are Transylvania, Wallachia, and Moldavia. And here you see that it says Ottoman Empire. Let's keep that in mind for a few more minutes. Romania pre-World War II. Now I'm going to move to another map, to this one. Let me go over the neighbors around. This is pre-World War II. So we have in the Far East, the former USSR. We have Poland in the north. We have Czechoslovakia, which today it's Czech and Slovakia. By the way, here is the city that my mother comes, Siget, which some of you may be in New York or generally speaking in United States, heard about the late Professor Elie Wiesel. He came from the city Siget. We have here along the west border, Hungary. In the south, we have Yugoslavia that no longer exists, but we have plenty of other countries, starting with Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, which includes also the Kosovo, and Slovenia. And we have Bulgaria, which still there. And here is the Black Sea. Now, the map, of course, has changed since then in 1945. And as I mentioned, the whole north, here is Ukraine. And here is the former Soviet Union. There's no Bessarabia. This is Moldova today, the real country. And Moldova here, when you see, it's a region. And just as a point in memory of those who were killed in the Second World War during the Holocaust, what Romania did was all Maramuresh and all northern Transylvania was deported to Auschwitz, and Bukovina was deported to what it's today Ukraine, to Transnistria. Okay? Romania was ruled by two former empires. So we know in the south, it was the Ottoman here. And by the way, Ottoman are the Turks who came from somewhere here. And the other one is the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. So these two empires who no longer exist, they are as countries, are the ones who ruled Romania. And that affects their customs, their food, their art, languages, and number of minorities that they have in the country. So the Ottoman Empire, as I said, the Turks conquered Romania in mid-16th century. Now, who did they bring to Romania? The most important people, their officials, and their developers of the new country that they just conquered. And guess who they brought? The Jews. The Jewish people that left Spain in 1492, many of them went to Turkey, to Greece, and some of them went to Bulgaria. And all this region, by the way, it's called the Balkan. So this is how the first Spanish Jews arrived to Romania under the Ottoman Empire. And why were they brought? Because they were great people with great talents. The Sultan needed a doctor or two or 10, and the Jews didn't come by themselves. They came with their families, of course. He needed accountants and lawyers for his taxes that he was collecting from the Romanian citizens. And he brought lots of merchants. Why? Because he wanted to develop the economy. So that's how the Spanish Jewry arrived in Romania in the mid-16th century. Now, Romania was in between the trade routes of Poland and the Ottoman Empire. Now, Poland would move them into Asia, either to import or export. And the same thing would be down here for the Romanian people themselves. Either they will export or import. So Romania was on the trade route between Poland and the Ottoman Empire. Now, many merchants traveled along these routes, and some even settled in some of the cities, so they became part of the local Romanian Jewish community. An example like this is the city of Iași. We say in Romanian Iași, here it says Iași. A very tiny, small community of Sepharadim developed in Iași, because it was the closest to cross the border and deal with merchants and so on. The areas of settlement, as we can see, let me pass now some maps here. Oops. Okay, it's this map. I'm having issues. Okay. The areas of settlement, as we can see on the map, was in southern part of Romania. I usually, for this purpose, I would like to divide the map right across half. When I do a presentation about Jews and the Holocaust in Romania, I usually divide the map into four quarters. Now we are going to look at half of the map. So you recall I said that the Jews from Spain came either Bulgaria, Greece, or Turkey. Now The first city that the Ottomans settled in was Bucuresti or Bucharest. Now, Bucharest today is known to us as the capital of Romania. The capital restarted as of 1862. In 1862 is when Bucharest became the capital. The only time that it wasn't was for a couple of years during the Second World War when Iași was the capital. So this is where most of the Sepharadim Jews lived, settled, and started to develop. Another city is Craiova, which is right here. Another one is Turnus Severin. So you notice that they are in the very southern part. Ploiești, that's the city where my grandmother was born. And Ploiești was famous for its oil. Not oil to eat, but oil for the cars. So that's why it became a very central place for the Jews of Sfarad. Then we move over here, Tulcea, on the beach of the Danube. So there is water again that leads into the Black Sea. Then we have Galatz, which is also on the shore, and Brăila. So you see here are three cities. It's Bucharest and here along. And Iași, as I said, sort of far away, but still there was some, very few. Constanța, which is right on the shores of the Black Sea, had also some Sfaradim that lived there. But the center was in Bucharest. The Jews under the Ottoman Empire were given rights and the ability to develop within their role under the Ottomans. After 200 years of ruling Romania, finally, Romania wins its independence from the Ottoman Empire by siding with Russia in the Russo-Turkish War of 1877 till 1878. There was a terrible 1 year of a war, but the Romanians won it. It also acquired the coastline of Tulcea here, of the Danube Delta, which today is the evidence in the architecture that Tulcea had part of the Ottoman Empire settled there. Now in 1881, Romania becomes a kingdom. So there's no longer principalities. We are a kingdom and we have here all the regions. Okay, so here is Bucharest, here is Craiova, here is Turnus Severin, here is Galatz, Brăila, Tulcea, Constanța, everything in the south, because here was the Ottoman Empire, came from the south. And of course, on the west is Hungary and Austria. Many Jews remained in the country once the Ottoman Empire ceased to rule. And guess who they are serving now? The king and the nobles. So they are always relevant with their skills. From now on, the Spanish Jewish community starts to develop, grow, progress, builds its own synagogues, schools, and leads a healthy and progressive community Jewish life while taking an active part in the non-Jewish Romanian local community. And this is extremely important because not as the Ashkenazim, they acted differently with the local Romanian community. But this is their flourishing time. Now they start, as I said, their own schools, their own synagogues, and so on. The community members were known to be major philanthropists for the Romanian state. This is the connection that they have with the state, with the king, with the officials, not staying away from getting involved in the locals. For example, most of the 1848 war/revolt that was taking place in Romania was financially supported by the Spanish Jewish community, especially by the Halfon banker. Halfon is a very Sephardic last name, and together with Menachem Elias, together with David Zion Bali and Hillel Manoach. All these gentlemen were extremely rich, bankers or landlords or industrialists. And with their families, of course, but they are the ones who supported this war, revolt, which you will meet next week. But until then, we should keep in mind that the government at the time of the king and the officials would not do anything before consulting with the bankers and with the Jewish community. They relied on their wisdom and on their talents. At the same time, we had also three famous rabbis, Rabbi Chaim Bejenaro, who was also the leader of the Aliyah movement in the 19th century to the state of Israel, at the time was called Palestine, Rabbi Moses Alomli, and these two rabbis for now. Now, why they have a kingdom, Romania, why are they going on a war/revolt? Because for their economic independence and social life. Because still, under a kingdom, the simple Romanian citizen did not have full rights, neither did the Jews. Even when they went during the First World War to fight for Romania, they didn't have rights. 1848, generally speaking, in Romania, was the year that Europeans revolted against their monarchies. So it was like a fashion. All the other countries did the same. So even though Romania remained under a kingdom, but with better conditions, social and economic rights. A general remark: following the ruling of the Ottoman Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Romanian community was left with some cultural aspects of these nations, art, food, cultural customs, and so on, that are part of today's Romanian lifestyle today. The Romanian people are quite religious. They are not Catholic, they are Orthodox, and their holidays are not exactly like the Catholics. There's always a difference of about a week, roughly. The Austro-Hungarian Empire ruled Central Europe, including North Transylvania, which is all this area, between 1867 and 1918. So after World War I, in 1918, Romania became an independent kingdom country. Only until 1940, It's already 1 year into the Second World War, when the government in Bucharest decided to have a pact with Nazi Germany, and they gave to Hungary, to the Hungarians that were part of the Nazi Germany war, all North Transylvania. That's why North Transylvania Jewry was deported to Auschwitz starting in spring of 1944. And in 1945, all this land came back to Romania. Okay? That's the pity, because that's where all my mother's family, including her, were deported to Auschwitz as well. Okay. I think I mentioned, but I'm going to emphasize this again. The Jewish Sepharadim men fought in World War I battles, and today we have an obelisk in the Cimitirul Evreiesc de Rit Spaniol, in the Spanish cemetery of Jews. Evrei means Jew. This is the obelisk that it's in memory of all the Romanian Spanish soldiers fighting in World War I. And it's there today. And you can see how clean and nice is the cemetery. There's lots of trees behind, but it's not a big one. It's a much smaller than the other one. And this is the entrance to the cemetery. Now, just to conclude with Romania's history, so I mentioned that in 1940, North Transylvania was given to Hungary, and so they were deported to Auschwitz. However, in 1945, after liberation, took about 2-3 years. It was a big mishmash with the Soviet Union arriving here, the Russians, the communist regime coming into Romania, taking over. But officially in 1947, they were already there, quite strong, and they were in the government ruling Romania till December of 1989, when the revolution happened. And that was the end of the communist era. And from 1989 December, right after Christmas, the government in Romania today is a parliamentary republic. But I want to tell you something. I've been going now since 98, which is quite many, many years. I wasn't born there. I was born in Israel. But I do go there now since 98. You know how it says in the Bible that the Jews had to be in the desert for 40 years so that their culture and their mentality of a slave will sort of clear out, or they will die and a new generation will come. That it's already 33 years after the revolution. The young generation can keep up with the new rhythm and with the new format, and speaking many more of them English and relating to tourists and so on. But the older generation, no. They still say, oh, it was good in the summer, I could go on a vacation. But they forget how many hours they will line up just to buy or to receive a loaf of bread. Okay, so this is today's Romania. All these historical highlights did affect the Jewish community at large, and of course, the Spanish Jews as well. Jews were not granted citizenship in Romania. It was obtained privately by the authorities as per how important or useful for the country was the specific applicant. The Spanish Jews were very important for their state. I already said that, especially the bankers who could support certain projects, activities, or revolts. Therefore, they benefited almost full citizenship rights until the official recognition of the Berlin Treaty in 1878, which stipulated, as per Article 44, that non-Christians in Romania, including both Jews and Muslims, should receive full citizenship. But I have to tell you in brackets, the law stated, and the government didn't really apply for it. It didn't apply the law completely. The Sephardic Jewish community was recognized only starting in 1730. And the community continued to develop until World War II, numbering close to 7,000 members of all the Sepharadim in Bucharest, with about 3,000 spread all over the other cities, as mentioned before. I must mention again that Bucharest was the center, not just because it was a capital, but because of the proximity to the Black Sea, and of course, the many businesses of export and import that they handled. Most of the population was well off, holding positions such as doctors, merchants, stockbrokers, bankers, landowners, money changers, industrialists, attorneys. And now we come into a special category: journalists, actors, opera singers, and musicians. So what we see is that they basically entered all areas of healthy society, integrating themselves into the Romanian society. The Sephardic Jewish communities considered themselves, that's nice to hear, superior to the Ashkenazim, that were poor and oppressed Jews who arrived from Poland, Russia, or wherever life was unbearable for the Jews. The Sephardim Jewish community lived already for over 200 years in Romania. Therefore, they were well established. So, of course, when the poor people came from pogroms from over here, definitely, or from Poland, from the former Galicia, definitely they were not in the same state of economy. The Ashkenazi Jews, many of the Hasidic origin, now we are going to hear the other side, viewed the Sephardic Jews as more secular and less spiritual and faithful to their religion. And that was because why? Because they simply integrated themselves in the society. That's how they were used since Spain, since all the rest of the countries, and that's how they survived. That's a mean of survival. Rabbi Aharon Yehuda Leib Horowitz, he was an Ashkenazi author and rabbi. He said the following: the Sephardic Jews here in Bucharest have not yet learned the value of physical labor, which sustains those who work in it. And most of them make their living only from trade. Always, the Sephardic Jews had high positions. Therefore, the Ashkenazis looked at them in a different manner. Unfortunately, the two Jewish communities held religious services in separate synagogues, taught their children in separate schools. The Ashkenazi community almost did not have close contact with the Romanian citizens, with the locals, where the Sepharadim can be said they were dealing openly with the Romanian authorities, most of the bankers, industrialists, and so on, and they were well known to the king and to his officials. Now, some did, I want to say, even intermarry with Romanian women. It wasn't that a woman would marry a Romanian man, but Romanian men would marry Romanian women. A general note, I want to say, that on the matter of marriages, many were among the local families. You will see that next time when I'm going to mention who married who and so on. Since some of them were very rich, and in terms either today or then, as we say, we want to keep the money close to our heart among the families and not to kind of spread it among others. In the 20th century, whoever was still there started to intermarry, with Ashkenazim. At the beginning, they stayed, as I said, only among themselves, only among Sepharadim. Even to marry somebody from Izmir, they would bring a bride, or from Bulgaria or from Turkey, wherever, but still to stay within the community. Now, really what broke the camel back with the two communities, the Ashkenazim and Sepharadim, was actually in 1850 over a dispute of ritual slaughter. Kosher shchita broke out between the Sepharadim and Ashkenazim Jews that brought to the deterioration in their relationship until Second World War. You've noticed that we use Second World War as sort of the end of their era in Romania. I'll get back to that soon. Now, during this dispute, even Armand Levy, who was a French publicist, and Adolphe Crémier, the French Minister of Justice, tried to make shalom bayit, tried to make some peace between the two groups, but no success, which separate the two communities even more. So basically, the two communities never lived together in a harmonious way. In a way, the Sepharadim lived there in Romania much longer. They were closer to the lifestyle of the Romanians. Bucharest, between the two world wars, was known as the Paris of the East, which gives us the proper idea that Bucharest was considered a very poshy, special, and high society, type of a place. And I recall my grandmother telling me these kinds of things. Art and music and opera and fashion. People will travel by train to Paris just to buy clothes until some of the merchants would import very fancy clothes from Paris, so people didn't have to go there anymore. So the difference between the two communities was really, really very distant from each other by their beliefs, by their practices. And what has happened is actually the Ashkenazim are the ones who remained. Okay. I wish I would be able to say that the Romanian Sephardic Jewish community left a historical mark on Romania. Unfortunately, there are maybe 10 individuals. Now that I read that what happened 20 years ago, that maybe 10 were left. Now I know that there are more. I found out a few. Of the Sephardic descendants, all others have been intermarried with Ashkenazim. Many moved to other European countries, such as UK and Switzerland, just before the Second World War. Some of the women, of course, adopted by marriage their husband's last name. This way, they completely lost any possible Sephardic identifiable last name. Now, around the mid-30s, some of the women married into Rothschild's family. So, of course, they moved from Bucharest to Paris, to London, to Germany, and other noble Jewish family. Again, the rich goes to the rich, and so on, as it happens in life. Now, the other issue is, you see, when the Jews came back from the war to back to Romania, the two groups, let me see, how am I doing with time? Okay. When they came back, either from Auschwitz or from Ukraine, and already were here, the Russians starting to promote communism, Jews that were able left Romania, either to Israel, United States, wherever, Australia, and the ones who were caught in and were not able to leave till the early 60s, when the state of Israel actually paid money for each individual to leave the country, they were hiding their religion. They were changing their names. They tried to take new identity. So even if they knew that their last name was David or Shabtai or Levi, which are Asher is also, these are pure Sephardic names, they changed it because they were worried, concerned, afraid. So, this is what happened actually with the community. However, next week we are going to talk about Jewish life in Bucharest through posters and pictures. And I put here a dear friend of the community, which was Menachem Elias. Now, you see, he was born in Bucharest. He died in Bucharest, but he's buried in Vienna. Many of them requested to be buried in Vienna during these years. Those are the years between the two wars. And Mr. Elias did not have children, and he devoted all his inheritance to a few foundations, but the most important one is he created this hospital that is still open today with the most innovative ways of taking care of people. It's called the Urgent Hospital of Elias, as you can see here it says. We'll talk about that next time. I want to wish everybody a very happy Purim. if you have any questions, Ethan, do we still have a few minutes?
Yes, we do.
Great. So if you have any questions, I would be very happy to try and answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll look it up, find out, and let you know next week.
Thank you so much, Benita, for a wonderful presentation for part one. I think everybody's really enjoying it so much.
Thank you.
We have a couple of questions from the chat here. So one question here, and you kind of alluded to it, kind of about the modern community. Are there any traditions or customs, let's say, that are still relevant to the Jewish community of Romania that are based on the Sephardic community at all, like in Bucharest?
No. You see, the Ashkenazi community, in a way, took over the federation, the Jewish community. So, like a Mr. Shabtai that I found him in Craiova told me, because I asked him about these things, Purim comes up, so we eat hamantashen, right? So they used to make a round type of a hamantashen and never put any poppy seeds or prunes, only a mixture of walnuts crushed with some honey, okay? So, and again, walnuts, honey, it's very much in the gastronomy, let's say, of the Spanish world. So this is what Mr. Shabtai told me. He knew that his last name means as a former Sephardic Jew.
Another question from the chat. Curiosity if there was Sephardic settlement in what is present-day Moldova in the same way as Romania.
No, not to my knowledge. Well, I want to explain something about Moldova of today. Okay, this is the map after 45, but this is the map during principalities. So it was called Moldavia. It was a region, okay? Now, this is the map after Second World War. So this is Moldova as a region, like my grandfather came from Piatra Neamț, so he comes from Moldova. Then we had Bessarabia, and then we had the Soviet Union. Now today, this part, Bessarabia, turned into the state of Moldova, a state. I just read this morning that as of the 1st of March, the national language in Moldova, in the state of Moldova, is Romanian, not any longer Russian. Okay, so they took over, it looks. Also, Romania is issuing passports to the people of Moldova today. So the Soviet Union really doesn't have any control over them, but we have to be very careful because we know what happened here in Ukraine. So, you know, we have to take things at their pace.
Couple more questions to the chat. Do you know at all of the percentage of Sepharadim who were lost during World War II from Romania? What either numbers or percentage-wise of the Jewish community, how many were Sepharadim?
You mean the soldiers?
No, specifically how many of the Jews in Romania who were killed in the Shoah, the Holocaust? Do we know how many were Sephardi?
I don't know offhand. I will look it up. I'll mark down as a question, and I hope I'll have an answer for next session.
The question here, how active was Ladino used in the Sephardic community of Romania?
The excellent question. It will come. I'm telling you right now, almost every discussion was held in Ladino. I will speak about that as a language, sure.
Another follow-up question here.
Yeah.
Were there once Sephardic Jews in Bessarabia as well?
No,
No.
no, but in Yash, which was Moldova, here is Yash. Yes,
So on the
very,
border.
very few, because they were sort of closer to Asia with the as merchants, you know. I want to say the following. Before Second World War, the number of Jews in total Romania was almost 1 million. To be exact, 850,000. This is what even Yad Vashem is using as a number. Now, what happened to them that today we have barely 10,000? 250,000 were sent from this area to Auschwitz. 250,000 from this area was sent to Transnistria. From Transnistria, barely 5,000 came back. From here, very few came back, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500. Now, the ones that were left here, they left to the state of Israel. Whatever was left, where they simply die because of old age. Now, today are 5,000 Jews registered according to the last census. But I say personally that they are 10,000. Why? Because there are many people, let's say they are in their middle age, late 30s, late 40s, after their parents die, and they either want to sell the house, the apartment, the piece of land, whatever they had, they go to the city hall to do the transfer, and that's when they find out in the register 2 words. Either it says next to the father or the mother or next to both, Israelite, or it says Mosaic. Both things means the same, that the parents were Jewish. Either one or both. So I claim that there are 10,000 in the country, but simply either they don't know or they still are afraid to say, because the elders definitely are afraid to put an X next to the word Jewish in the census. So it's really a pity. It's a shanda, the way we say in Jewish, of what has happened.
We also were to use picado in Ladino. You have shanda in Yiddish
Here
and
you
picado in Ladino.
Very good, thank you.
I will have time for one last question over here.
Sure.
We have a member of the audience saying that one set of his grandparents came from Plios. Yes, thank you. And
That's where my grandmother came, yeah.
He believes that his family was Sephardic with a last name was Ashkenazi. Do you have any information about the Jewish community there?
I would have to do some checking. There is a book, but it's in Romanian, of course, that's what happens, that speaks about that community. The name Ashkenazi, definitely. It's not an Ashkenazi, it's actually the opposite, yeah. Tell that person, give them my email, or they can take it from here. Oops, here is my email. Send me please a message, and we will talk how you can follow up on it and find out more information.
Also, last question, because I think it's very important for the audience to know. How could someone find out if their family, if they were descendant of Romanian Jews, if the Romanian Jews were Sephardi or Ashkenazi?
What is the last name that this person has, or what?
I don't know. They'll have to reach out to you directly. But like people are asking, they have Romanian roots. they have family that was born there, but let's say they don't know if the family was Sephardi or Ashkenazi when they moved from Romania to America. Where could they find out more information to investigate?
Okay, so the thing is like this, from a genealogical point of view, when you go to look for the information in the registers at the various cities or in the archives, when a baby was registered as a newborn in the birth certificate, it did not say if he is a Sephardi or Ashkenazi. It just said that he is Israelite or Mosaic. So it's very hard unless you know the last name. Or, well, I'll tell you something. It's possible, but it's like a guess. Like it came to my mind, this idea. You needed 3 witnesses to say that Moish Ashkenazi was born 2 weeks ago, let's say. So you have to look at the names of the last names of the witnesses. If, let's say, the 3 names of the witnesses sound Sepharadim, then for sure that person has a descendancy of Sepharadim. It just came into my mind, this idea now.
No, it's a great idea and one that's worth
In
investigating.
genealogy, you have to be, I Spy My Little Eye. You remember
detective,
that game as children?
Creative.
So that's...
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. I really want to thank Penina for a wonderful first class in our 3-part series. If you're able to, please join us for part 2 next Thursday, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we learn more about the history of the Sepharadim of Romania. Penina, thank you so much for your time today.
Take care. Happy Purim.